What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cuba to You. Today's episode, I wanted to inform you guys about the recent vote that happened last week in Cuba for the new constitution that the Cuban government tried to essentially introduce. Some changes to the constitution they tried to make. I remember I had spoken to you guys about that in previous videos where I told you that they were essentially trying to add some things that would make the socialist state that they're in more rigid, less rights for independent artists, more restrictions on certain things. And so they recently voted for it on the 24th, and the results came back, and a lot of people are skeptical over these results, but the results came back per the Cuban government, per their Twitter accounts, that the majority of Cubans voted yes on the new changes, and that only like 13 or between 13 I think and 18% of Cubans voted no. We don't really believe that, you know, those of us who are following this closely, because we've seen some videos where people are people who are voting yes, you know, people who are voting in favor of the communist government, just casually filling out like 30 ballots and putting 30 ballots in a box. And so there's you know, we believe there's been a fraud. We believe that this election process has been fraudulent, as well as there's been people who weren't allowed out of their house. There's been people who were given pencil. I'll show you these, you know, you'll see it here, like people given pencil to vote. Now, what's stopping somebody from erasing their vote and putting an X on the yes instead of the no? And so there's a lot of shady stuff that went on. The encouraging thing about this is that a lot of people went out to vote, and a lot of them did vote no. A lot of them took pictures of themselves voting no in Cuba. Okay, that is a big deal, because they got out of their homes, put themselves at risk essentially, and voted no, and voted against. You know, it wasn't just that they voted for something else, they voted specifically against the Cuban government. That's a big deal, and hopefully with what's happening in Venezuela, that will trickle down over to Cuba. That will affect the way Cubans operate, the way Cubans protest, the way Cubans believe that they can change their government. But besides that, that's really the results. The results is the Cuban Communist government, I believe, engaged in fraud in the way that they gathered votes, and now we're essentially. And I think now there's a lot of exile community groups that are in the process of trying to prove this, trying to, you know, petition to maybe the UN or other world leaders, world powers, that there's been a fraud. This has been a fraud, similar to what happened with Maduro in Venezuela, where it was definitely fraudulent, and all the world leaders decided to essentially withdraw their support. So hopefully the same thing will happen in Cuba, and hopefully this will be a spark to change. You know, we never know with them. But I just wanted to update you guys on what was going on. I'm really excited about next week's video. Next week's video, I'm going to preview it here. But this was a very simple video. I just wanted to update you because I didn't get a chance to do that, because after I shot my last video, it was 2 days until it was going to happen, the election, and I didn't want to go live and give you a bunch of information without knowing for certain, and so I decided to wait. But next week's video, I'm going to show you where to get a really amazing cigar experience in Tampa, specifically Tarpon Springs. And this is Cuba to You, so it has to be Cuban. It can't just be a cigar experience, it has to be like a Cuban experience. This is like walking into another world, this place. And I'm going to show you a little bit here, but I'm excited about you getting to know the people behind the Seraphin Cigar Company in Tarpon Springs. Great people, I know them. I smoke cigars regularly, and they make really good cigars. So I'm going to show you that next week. So if you like this video, subscribe, hit the little bell, because you're not going to want to miss that, especially if you're a cigar lover. You won't want to miss that. All right, so with that being said, thank you for watching. You have a nice day.